MSPs set up quarterly business reviews with their clients to proactively review their technology business needs, address any issues, plan for future projects, and more. One of the challenges that MSPs experience is maintaining these QBRs with each of their clients. Things like creating a recurring quarterly schedule, assigning the right resources, sending reminders to the client, and finding the best availability are just a few of the steps needed to maintain this MSP to client relationship. And any missteps will result in a missed QBR and an opportunity to remain in touch with the client. With the power of the PSA and TimeZest, MSPs can utilize both the automation of the PSA to create recurring scheduling for each client and the scheduling workflow capabilities of TimeZest to spend less time getting these QBRs on the calendars. To get started, we need to do a little setup in TimeZest. We're going to take a look at the appointment types, and we can either create a new appointment type or we already have one existing called the quarterly business review. We want to pay special attention to the different settings that is specific to your style of QBR with your customer. Things to look out for in terms of the appointment details would be your duration. How long do you actually set these appointments to be scheduled with your client? Other areas including the scheduling options, more specifically, the minimum notice. So how soon would you want to get the notice of these scheduling requests to be added to a calendar? And then also to your scheduling window. How far in advance do you want your clients to be able to schedule these requests for the QBRs? And lastly, with regards to rescheduling and cancellation, do you want to give the capability for your clients to be able to either cancel the session or reschedule it, or both? Now let's take a look at the ConnectWise Manage settings and go through the process of ensuring that you have the right setup. First thing we want to take a look at is where these service tickets are going to reside. So we want to take a look at these service boards that you have. In our case, we want to use the account management board, and these specific settings that we want to establish here for this process automation are the types, subtypes, and items. So let's go ahead and go into the types tab. We want to be able to set up a new type for QBR. We also want to have a subtype for a QBR meeting. And lastly, the most important for this setting is the items. Now the items are going to be used for each of your account managers that will be assigned to a recurring service ticket, which will then also be able to use as a search condition on a workflow rule so that we can send a specific TimeZest scheduling URL to that customer. So in our case, we have 3 employees that we want to establish as an item: Ben Bradley, Guy Rogers, and Lucas Phipp. Now with this setting on the boards, on the service boards, we want to make sure that the type and subtype are linked together, and of course the item as well. Now moving forward into the next setting is the actual ticket template that we want to be able to generate. I've already created one in this instance of ConnectWise. I want to go into that setup table, and our recurring service ticket is the quarterly business review template. Setting up as the ticket summary that will display on the ticket is the quarterly business review. And the main settings within this setup is establishing the correct board. In our case is the account management board. We want to be able to establish the default status that will be used whenever the ticket is generated. And we'll be using the type and subtype used in the previous setup table on that account management board, QBR and QBR meeting respectively. Notice that I have the item set as blank because this is just a template. When we go into a customer and apply this template to them in their profile, we'll then be able to establish the item that is specific to that account manager. It's a good segue into the next setting. So let's go into the company screen, my instance of ConnectWise Manage. I'm going to be able to use PopZig in our example. I want to go into the ticket templates tab. So now I can apply that ticket template that we just created in the setup tables and use the same settings of the quarterly business reviews in terms of this summary, and also to the board for the account management, as well as the status, type, subtype. And notice here I've established Guy Rogers as the item in this ticket template that is specific to PopZig Consulting. Now, in order for this service ticket to be generated off of this ticket template, I do need to establish the resources that's going to be assigned to the ticket with an established date here. So in this case, Guy Rogers is our resource. I want to go ahead and generate the first ticket against PopZig for their QBR to be the 1st of August. And I also want to establish a repetition pattern or a capability for the system for ConnectWise Manage to be able to generate service tickets on a recurring pattern, right? So in this case, we're going to set up as a monthly basis. I also want to establish it on the first day of every 3 months. That's just how we work with our customer in PopZig. We want to be able to establish the first ticket to be generated every 3 months on the first day of that 3 months in the quarter. Now, when those tickets get generated based off of this recurring service ticket, we then now want to utilize the workflow rules to be able to search off of these service tickets. Then that will allow us to be able to automate the TimeZest portion of this process in order to send the correct URL to the customer to allow them to be able to schedule the service ticket based off of the TimeZest platform. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the workflow rules setup tables under the general category. Right here, we've already created one called the Schedule Quarterly Business Review Notice. And as you can see here, I've created an individual event for each of my account managers. In this case, we have one for Guy Rogers. I'm using the events to be able to search off of the service ticket that is on the account management board. And I want to be able to search those events on that board for a QBR ticket type, as well as the ticket's subtype being QBR meeting. And then lastly, the ticket item, it is Guy Rogers. I also have established other workflow rules and events for each of my account managers. In this case, we've got Ben Bradley, and then also two for Lucas Phipp. Now, within each of those different events, I'm going to be able to send out a specific email. Now, how is this going to work with the TimeZest portion of it? We're going to be able to send this email as soon as that service ticket is found by the workflow rule. We want to send it over to the contact for this item, which in our case for PopZig would be Erica. Establishing the typical email sent out from a workflow rule. Of course, you need to set up a subject line as well as the body. And this is the important part. You want to be able to establish the descriptive summary to be able to send out to the client by the fact that the quarterly business review is ready to be scheduled. Now I want to go back into TimeZest and look for that appointment type of the QBR. And I want to specify it for, in this case, it's going to be Guy Rogers. Now we've established the URL right here as the URL-based scheduling URL, which includes the SR number token, which is going to be able to apply that ticket that is created from the recurring ticket and template to this URL. Let's go back into the workflow rule. And I want to go ahead and embed this link into the workflow rule itself. I'm going to give it a different display. And okay, and there you go. What this is going to do now, again, it's going to automate the process for the workflow rule, or let me take a step back. It's going to automate the process for the ticket template to generate the ticket for each client. The workflow rule will be able to search for each service ticket that got generated based off of that ticket template. And then now with this email, it's going to automate the scheduling capability using TimeZest with your clients to be able to click on this link in order to be able to find the best availability of Guy and their own to be able to get it onto Guy's calendar and move forward with the quarterly business review. So we hope this is helpful in creating more automation into your scheduling processes, as well as strengthening your relationships with your clients. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us on our support page or reach out on chat on our website.